In today's news, the day of judgment for Thai Airways has come. Anti-government protesters finally released from prison, and fears of the Indian COVID variant right at the borders. That's all coming right up. Sawadee krap, you're watching Thailand News Today with me, Jet Gunther. We start with a warm shout out to Robert Ken, who's now a Thaiger legend. Now you can be one too by hitting that join button on our channel page to support us. Today, an additional 34 COVID-related deaths have been announced, the highest single-day total since Thailand's outbreak began. There was also 1,983 new infections from the past 24 hours of Bangkok and provincial reports. Bangkok is still the hotspot with 4 main clusters, with high-density housing areas still the main concern for public health officials. Today is a big day in the long-running Thai Airways saga, with 13,000 creditors voting on whether or not to accept the struggling airline's rehabilitation plan. A source at the airline is warning that should creditors reject the plan, the carrier will be declared bankrupt and they would only receive around 13% of what they're owed, or even less. In the event of a bankruptcy declaration, the airline's assets will be appraised to decide how much of its debts can be repaid. The estimate of 13% is based on the value of assets currently held by the carrier. But many analysts say that even those assets may be worth a lot less in the current world aviation market. The rehabilitation plan that was submitted 2 months ago covered debts of around 410 billion baht. It's understood that major shareholders own around 180 billion baht of that debt between them. Leasehold companies around the world also hold a fair whack of the debt. Should the rehab plan be accepted today, it is likely that Thai Airways will be given a certain time frame in which to turn itself around. The plan calls for the repayment period of debts arising from unsecured bonds worth 70 billion baht to be extended to 10 years, with a debt moratorium in the early stages of repayment. The airline is also introducing tough cost-cutting measures, including job reductions via early retirement for thousands of its 20,000 workers. Now, it's understood the plan does not call for the Thai Ministry of Finance to provide a loan, but says anyone can obtain the loan and the ministry can help with cash injection negotiations. The State Enterprise Policy Office has already stated that the government will not recapitalize the airline. Thailand's health officials say the kingdom's long and porous borders pose the greatest risk in terms of the so-called Indian variant of COVID-19. Prasit Watanapa from the Faculty of Medicine at Sirirat Hospital says there is a distinct possibility the highly contagious variant currently wreaking havoc with India's healthcare system could be imported by illegal migrants slipping across Thailand's borders. It's estimated that more than 15,000 illegal migrants have snuck over the border in the past 4 months. Thailand shares borders with Myanmar, Laos, Malaysia, and Cambodia, with the Thai-Myanmar border being the longest at around 2,500 kilometers, most of it being dense rainforest. Officials say that the Thai-Lao border is not as much of a concern for now. Now, with India on the other side of Myanmar, officials are especially worried about the current political instability in the country and panicked Burmese trying to flee into Thailand without going through the official checkpoint. An unfortunate farmer has been struck and killed by lightning in his rice field in Phon Sawan district of Nakhon Phanom in far northeast Thailand. His wife found his body in a condition she described as unconscious and burned. The man was 49 years old and lived and farmed near the Hoi Hai village. After calling for emergency help, medics, rescue workers, and police arrived at the farm to find his body lying flat on his back and covered with burn markings consistent with being killed by lightning. Now, according to his wife's statement to the police, the man was plowing the fields in preparation to sow the area with rice seeds, as the daily rain had made the ground perfect for a new harvest. Heavy rains and turbulent weather have been common in the area recently, and many parts of Thailand had suffered from severe thunderstorms and high winds as this year's wet season starts to kick in. Powerful storms had damaged nearly 100 homes in the nearby district of Nakhon Phanom and Blabak last week. His wife said she heard a huge thunderclap and a loud bang coming from the field, though she did not investigate immediately. But after 2 hours, when her husband still hadn't returned, she went to go check out what had happened. The chances of being hit or killed by lightning are estimated to be more than 1 in a million. After fighting multiple defamation charges for nearly 10 years, British activist Andy Hall has been finally cleared of the last pending charge. Hall had lived for 12 years in Thailand before leaving in 2016 after fighting charges brought by the pineapple company National Fruit in Prachuap Khiri Khan when he had reported on their poor work conditions. In 2012, Hall contributed to a report about the bad working conditions, child labor, and low wages at the local factory. Hall was originally found guilty of criminal defamation in 2016 and was given a suspended 3-year prison sentence. Now, last June, that conviction was overturned. National Fruit then filed a 300 million baht civil defamation case that was dropped last year before going to trial. The final case was a separate defamation charge stemming from a 2013 Al Jazeera interview that Hall had given. The Supreme Court overturned a lower court's ruling that Hall should pay 10 million baht in compensation charges. The Supreme Court dismissed the case after concluding that Hall's criticisms were fair and that his reporting was honest. Parit Penguin Shiwarak, the anti-government protest leader who had been jailed for months, has finally been granted bail after 10 requests. Another student protester, singer Chai Amon Ami Gao Wibunpan, was also released yesterday. Both activists were being held without bail in Bangkok Remand Prison, charged under Thailand's strict lèse-majesté laws that prohibit anyone from speaking out against the Thai royal family. As a condition of their bail and release, the activists are barred from taking part in any activities, including protesting, organizing, or giving speeches that are in any way against Thailand's monarchy. They were made to pledge to respect and not to dishonor the monarchy as a condition of their release. The activist leaders will have to follow a schedule of reporting to the court and are not permitted to leave the country without prior permission. Panasaya Rung Sithi Jira Watanakul, who's another influential student activist that had been on a hunger strike in prison with Penguin, was released last week. Several beaches have been closed in Vietnam as the country battles a resurgence of the COVID-19 virus. Officials in Hai Phong City near Hanoi have closed 3 of the main beaches following news that 47 new infections had been reported in the country's capital. In the central province of Quang Nam, health officials have also decided to close beaches in the picturesque World Heritage town of Hoi An. In Da Nang, which has more than 30 kilometers of beaches, the authorities have shut them indefinitely until the source of the recent outbreak is identified and isolated. 5 new infections have been reported in Da Nang and 1 in Hoi An. Between April the 28th and May the 10th, Vietnam has experienced a rise in COVID-19 infections, with 637 new cases reported after a relatively clear period since mid-March. It's understood 25 cities and towns are affected, including Hanoi, with 10 government hospitals in lockdown. All serious news today, so no jokes from me this time. Thank you for watching, and check out the video that just popped up for more Thaiger content. Until next video, Sawadee krap.